America's bitch.
Okay, on that note, three,
No, it's the other way around. We have our dick and them. They're our bitch.
two,
Look at the topography.
one.
They're a
And
power
we're a bigger
bomb.
country.
Hello, YouTube.
Did you just say Canada is bigger than America?
Oh my
What?
gosh.
Physically in size, yes. Russia's the
Oh,
only
okay.
country that's
Okay.
bigger than
This
us.
is. Say hi, guys.
Hi.
Just one way to start off a topic Tuesday. And with that note, I'm hoping you guys could. It's not a geography topic. It's a history topic.
Yeah, take that. All of the UK can fit inside of Ontario, which is one province.
I don't care how small the UK used to be. We used to rule like most of the world.
Well, you were really good at making slaves. No one could have argued with you.
I mean, so was America.
Yeah, and the Dutch.
Yeah,
Don't forget about the Dutch.
Yeah, the Dutch did it too.
We free.
Do you want to try speaking this time, or?
We freed our slaves like way before America did.
But yeah. But,
Yeah,
I mean,
but that doesn't, counteract the effect that you still had them.
like, I'm sure
And
Canada
no,
did at some
that.
point.
Yeah, we used the Chinese for a while to build our big ass railroad.
Maybe that's why they hate North America.
Nah, I'm thinking that has more to do with communism and the fact that we detained their CFO for Huawei. That's more of why they hate us right now.
What'd you just call it?
The CFO, Chief Financial Officer.
Did you try to say Hawaii?
No, Huawei.
Okay, I was
Yeah. Hey, the microphones are terrible.
just making sure there because I wasn't.
No. It wasn't anything to do with that. And the worst part is we did it on behalf of the U.S. and we're the ones catching the flack. Fuck.
Now, you said they only really taught you the War of 1812 in school?
Yeah, we in history, at least when I was in school, we mostly learned about American history and not really Canadian history. Like we learned about a few choice battles where we fought off the Americans trying to take what will eventually be called Canadian land, right? So like the Kingston Fort and the Fort York in Toronto and things like that. Like we learned about those choice battles and a few of like the Aboriginal life.
What?
Like the Aboriginal people in Canada, but like we didn't really learn that much. Like we mostly focused on American stuff because our history is pretty closely tied with theirs.
I mean, that makes sense, I guess.
I mean, our country celebrated its 152nd birthday. We're not really that old over here.
Are you sure you're not ancient?
No.
Technically, your land has been around for a while. Your country hasn't.
Yeah, but the people ruling it are dickheads, and we haven't been around. And we haven't been an official country for that long.
Death and taxes.
But we've been around long enough to be in both world wars, so it's all good.
And serve significance.
You completely cut out there. Do you want to try that again, Cap?
And serve significantly, though people seem to forget about that.
I know, right? I mean, technically in the First World War, we were counted as part of the British colony troops, or whatever they call that, colonial troops? I can't remember what they called that, which included like Australia and all the other larger colonies.
The British troops or the American troops?
No, we were counted as part of the British troops, as part of like the colonial forces or something like that. I can't remember what it was called actually. But yeah, in the Second World War, we were officially considered Canadian troops as opposed to part of the British force. Yeah. And we kicked ass in World War II, and everybody seems to forget that. It bothers me.
Why?
Okay, so when we landed on Juno Beach, which was one of the hardest beaches to land on, we pushed so hard and so relentlessly that they had to call our troops back because we were at risk of encirclement of getting encircled by the enemy German troops because we pushed so far ahead so quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, we were called the Stormtroopers, and the Germans were very afraid of us.
Stormtroopers?
No, genuinely, look it up.
Wait, Cyber Storm.
Yeah, the Canadian troops are referred to as Stormtroopers in the Second World War.
Huh.
Because they knew once the Canadians started to take something, we weren't going to stop until you were a dead pile of crap on the ground. So.
Well, at least you were taught in detail more about the War of 1812. It's come to a point in schools where they teach less and less about the older wars.
Yeah.
So World War One and Two are just lightly covered, and I've had both
true.
in the UK and in America.
Yeah, most of what I learned about World War One and Two actually didn't come from the public school system here.
No,
it was through my own research and then going to Germany. Actually,
yeah, they give
where I learned a lot.
They give a brush up of what it is, and they don't say too much about like what the country did and stuff. Like America had Japanese in camps. They don't mention a whole lot about that.
Yeah, so the winners of wars tend to keep out the atrocities they had, right?
Well, even then, like World War One, they just barely mention what happened. Like it's a brush
they don't
over.
talk about all of the gas usage and all of that kind of stuff.
They say what happened to the Duke and that Germany was going overboard, and that's why they had to pay for it.
What?
If you look at the reason why World War II was started. Now that could have been an issue solved quickly, but Germany kept pulling at more people into it with the threats.
What makes me laugh is
can
you
tell us about it?
Like Germany, well, the end of World War One, even though it was started by Austria-Hungary, the British looked at Germany and went, "You did this." I did this.
Well, they pulled America into it. Germany pulled America into it. Because wasn't it World War One that they were talking to Mexico about fighting against America? I don't think that was World War.
It
was one of the World Wars. If it wasn't one, it was definitely two. I thought it was one. I could have swore it was one.
Well, we're gonna. No, you're right. World War One.
I thought so.
It happened in 1917.
Yeah, so
it was the Zimmerman telegram.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I thought so. It's not my country, but
yeah.
That threat and all the other stuff they were doing, messing with the other countries, led to them pulling in, and when those countries came in, they were messing with Germany, and Germany's allies would come and work and try to do more damage. So it was just going back and forth, and ultimately Germany had dragged it on longer than it needed to. Because by the end of that war, they really weren't fighting for anything but to get it to stop.
Yeah. And do you remember it was called the Great War? The war so great that we wouldn't need any more wars.
And then we have World War II.
And World War II happened like less than a decade.
It was like 20 years later.
I like the joke in The Simpsons about that, where it's like, back in World War One, why'd you keep calling it that? You'll see. Okay then.
Yeah.
Well,
that was in the War of the World episode.
And then push past that into World War II, Hitler wouldn't have been a thing if Germany wasn't left in such ruin and unable to take care of their people.
Yeah.
Because they were just so far in debt, trying to make these payments that the other countries required. So if we had just stopped, if let it go and tried to solve everything, World War II might have never happened.
Maybe.
Might.
Maybe not.
Might.
Can't say for sure.
No, it's might. Yeah. And then you push even further where you get into Stalin doing a lot of crap. and the Cold War, the policing of communism, in that Red Scare and everything going on. I mean, the Vietnam War was pointless. We did leave and they got taken over. So even if we hadn't shown, they would have gotten taken over anyway if we hadn't shown up. If America hadn't showed up.
Actually, that's actually not true. That's actually a common misconception about the Vietnam War.
America left.
Yeah. So what happened the U.S. was spending a lot of money on it, right? And at the time, a lot of anti-war sentiment was coming up in the public, right? So what happened is they elected a new president who was also anti-war. So they pulled out of that when, if they had stayed for another 5 years, they could have easily won it, and Vietnam would now be a democracy instead of a communist state, as it were.
And then the Korean War, granted, America had pushed it too far.
Nobody really won that one.
No, it went back to the same line it started at.
Right? The U.S. won a bit, the communists won a bit, and then they just decided to call it even for a little while. And now the angry man has decided he doesn't want any of that anymore. He'd like more.
I don't know. The threats have
US won a bit.
Yeah, I think he's just biding his time to make an ultimate threat of give us the land or get the fuck out, or we're gonna fuck shit up.
And then in push again. Granted, I've been doing a lot of research and noticing stuff. The 9/11 here, where I am stuck temporarily.
Yeah.
And when we fought back, when America fought back after 9/11, the Muslims had made a threat of, because we fought back, they were going to destroy America from the inside out. If you look all over, you see notices, and it's not just America, it's all over, of training camps, like terrorist training camps inside that country. They are all over the place in America. And you can see Muslims. Now, I'm not saying all Muslims are bad. It's the people that take it to extreme. It's the extremists.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like these Muslims are extremists, but if you look, you see more and more governors and even candidates for president are Muslim, because there's a bunch of candidates that have a Muslim background. And you see these more and more governors coming into power, and senators and people in the House are Muslim. So they could literally be destroying America from the inside out.
But why?
Why what?
Why would you make that connection? That's a horrible connection. Are you insinuating that every Muslim who comes over?
No, I'm not saying every Muslim is. I'm saying that could be the case.
Kind of sounds like it.
That could be the case.
Yeah,
now,
but
I don't know.
The answer is no. It's not gonna be like that.
It's just more. It's a more and more common thing that I've noticed. It's happening more and more. Now, I'm not saying that all Muslims are extremists. That where a few are, and they're doing all kinds of different stuff. So I'm not saying that they are all terrorists. I've met some really nice people who are Muslim. You guys have gone.
I mean, the Quran does literally teach people love. Like,
it also mentions destroying all who don't believe.
Yeah, it's gotta love those idiosyncrasies with every holy book. It's like, love everyone, destroy those who defy you. It's like,
it's contradicts.
It's a little weird.
All religious books, for the most part, just bash. They contradict themselves.
Yeah.
The Bible does the same thing. Like,
love everyone. So you're saying hate gays? No.
What?
Look, here's what bothers me on that, because I am part of the community, and it'll be people, and I've noticed a lot more with Christianity groups, more so with Catholics. They'll say God makes no mistakes, and then they see a gay couple and then go, oh, that's not right. But you
God
just
makes
said
no mistakes.
you
Gay
made
couple, except that one.
yeah. It's like you just said God makes no mistakes. Like
Yeah.
it's,
I prefer not to really talk about religion and stuff.
religion brings on a lot of wars. That's what most wars have been, religion based.
Right, crusade.
Humanity puts on a lot of wars too. You can't just say it's religion because we start
Think
wars over a lot of dumb shit.
think of a world without religion. You know how much scientific knowledge would have gone up.
Yeah.
No,
I can think of that
A
one.
man can dream, though.
but see, the thing is I don't think there ever could have been a world without religion. People
No,
crave understanding for what they can't physically understand, and that's what religion does. Is it gives you hope and reason to understand things that are so beyond yourself, right?
and there's some stuff that's just so out there that even religions don't even cover it.
Well, it's like what Amnes says in Kingdom Heart at the start of Kingdom Hearts 1. Those who understand nothing can learn nothing. Or is it know nothing? Either way. Yeah. Those who understand nothing can learn nothing. So
Just to clear things up, so I haven't offended anyone at this point. All religions have the extreme. Let's put it that way. It's not just Muslims; it's everybody has the extreme. Because I now feel that if I put this up, I've offended people.
Yep, that's the problem about talking this kind of stuff.
Oh, then I think we've all offended someone at this point.
Probably.
it's impossible not to offend anybody. Like
You just said the Bible contradicts itself. I
That's
feel
what
offended. It's not just the Bible.
we live in a world.
With a bad internet connection and a horrible mic, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that wasn't a bad internet connection or mic. That was me just taking a moment to think. But we live in a world where it's impossible not to offend anyone, especially when talking about history. Because when you talk about history, then I have to talk about religion and also culture and how
look at-
culture and religion and history all tied together to then make war. I mean, the 100 Years' War, for example. Like,
Look at again what America's doing. The Robert E. Lee statue being taken down. The Confederate flag problem. Them taking that kind of stuff down because I don't know. For all they know, the ancestor was a slave, and it offends them because of that. That's part of history, and by taking that stuff down and removing it, history is, as I say, doomed to repeat itself.
Okay, but see, the point of them taking down the Confederate flags and the statues is because they made a point saying that public offices and public buildings shouldn't be able to display, symbols of hate because it has been used as a symbol of hate by the far right groups, right? So they're saying that public buildings shouldn't have those kind of symbols on them.
But it's not just public buildings that are doing that, though. There's high schools named after Robert E. Lee who ended up changing the name because so many parents are offended. And if they're gonna take all this stuff down, they need to make more museums and stuff dedicated to the Confederate side. So with the Union,
US doesn't like to admit that they've made mistakes. Have you noticed that?
but by not admitting that, you're forgetting it.
Exactly, and that's the whole point, right?
But then you repeat
so
it.
now we come to the point of who decides what history is correct, right? So if we look at Germany, and in my opinion, they have the best model for teaching history, right? They don't deny anything. When you go to school in Germany, you learn about every war atrocity they committed in World War II. There are museums for everything. They teach all of them. They say this is what happened in the past. Let's make sure it never happens again, right?
Yeah.
Then on the opposite end of the spectrum, there's China, right? And the Tiananmen Square massacre.
So in any communist country makes it seem like they've done nothing wrong.
Exactly, because they controlled the information and they suppressed it. So if you ask anybody who's about our age about that massacre, nobody knows. It never happened, right? So the U.S. is kind of tilting towards that direction of, let's try to erase history and make people forget, so that way we seem like a better country. Every country does this, right? Canada does it as well. We try to suppress how we treated the Aboriginal people when we first came here, and what we did to the Chinese to build all of our infrastructure up here.
I mean,
We try to get people to forget it.
if you want a great thing of China censoring history, they deny the fact for about 20 years by Japan.
I only caught about half of that because you keep cutting out.
So, in China, they denied for the longest time that they were taken over by Japan.
Yeah.
There is a series of movies set during that era. I don't know if you've ever seen Ip Man.
No.
Really good movie. Donnie Yen is in it, but like the Chinese seem to just like go, no, that never happened. We were never invaded by Japan. We weren't ruled by imperialistic Japan for. No, that never happened. It happened. It happened. They killed you with guns.
I just looked at the picture Danny sent into the chat, and that does kind of make me think. People complain about like gay people having like a whole month. Think about this. They've been fighting for a really long time, and there's a lot of other races that have an entire month. You've got Hispanic History Month, Black History Month. That's just if I say this, people are gonna call me racist. I'm not racist whatsoever. Each race has a history.
Proceeds to say something racist.
I'm gonna say no, it's not racist.
It's only racist if it's.
Have you ever noticed every time Severin says, "I'm not racist," but their comments are immediately followed by something extremely racist?
Think about each race.
So, I'm just prepared here.
Each race has a history month. The white race does not.
Because we don't need one. You are taught white history in school. We don't need a history month.
But people are gonna find me racist for saying that, though.
But you're not saying that white people need a history month.
I mean, it would be fair for them to have one. It's not a need, but it would be fair because we have.
But do they need one when like you constantly have while you're in school white history shoved down your throat? Like,
look, this.
Do we need a month? We have an entire year.
I mean,
the whole point of the Black History Month and everything like that is to promote understanding and learning of those cultures' histories. Because
that should be something that's promoted all the time anyway. It's not even necessarily that we need a month for any race. All that stuff just needs to be covered in school, and it's not. If they would just kind of cover that stuff as is, we wouldn't need any month dedicated to people.
You willing to go to school for an extra few years while we learn all of that?
I'm not saying they need to go in depth on anything race-wise. They just need to spend a day or two, an extra unit on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but then you also have to recognize, at least here in Canada and the US, our education systems are constantly under attack for what they're allowed to teach. And all of the funding spent, and it gets cut all the time, right?
What I've noticed is teachers teach the tests.
Yeah, you don't learn anything substantial here. You learn how to take a test.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed, and it scares me to death.
Yeah, like when I went to school, I was so lucky to go to a school that had a cooking course. Like, you have no idea. I was in like one of two schools in all of Toronto that taught a cooking class at the time.
Home ec's great though.
And it wasn't home ec though; it was specifically cooking.
I mean,
we don't do home ec.
I would have happily taken cooking class too. I didn't have time.
Yeah, but we're so focused on tests. Like up here, we have the literacy test, and there's a huge focus on it. Like, there are courses for passing it. If you don't pass the test, like, it's a huge requirement up here. And then after that, you have all of the SATs and stuff like that. Like,
Here's another thing about what they need to teach in school: how to do your taxes, how to pay bills, how to fill out a check.
Yeah, how to not
check
bounce
one
a
is
check
not
would
so
be great.
important.
The stuff that you're gonna need for the rest of your life: how to write a job application, how to do a
Yeah, but
resume.
I really learned the most important thing I'll ever learn at school. And do you want to know what it is?
What tolerance?
The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Yeah, I know it's a giant joke, but like, it's kind of true though, right? Like,
But they don't teach kids enough. Like, if you put back to when our parents were in school, my mother got so frustrated because I was learning all this other stuff, but I wasn't learning how to do all this different stuff like my taxes and financial balancing and money management and all that stuff that people need to be able to function. They don't teach.
yeah. So the other side of the equation of that is that the education system feels like that should be the parents' job to teach those things. And on one hand, I can understand that, right? You know, we're here to further education and make it more than what you would otherwise learn at home, right?
The thing with
So why not
that,
let the parents teach stuff?
the
You
thing with
know, why doesn't
that,
your dad or mom teach you money management or how to do laundry or cook for yourself or anything like that, right? Why should you have to spend tax money teaching kids how to do that?
here comes the problem.
Because some parents don't. Some
Yeah.
parents just. There are so many people that like they go off to university and they don't know how to cook for themselves. They barely know how to function as adults, and they get this huge amount. And what happens is they just fail at being adults. They spend all their money. They wind up in more debt because they don't know how to manage their money. They're not paying their rent properly because none of them have been taught how to do that.
And you push it further, there's kids that, the few cases, there's kids that come out of that household with different values like that than the parents. So their parents might not save a penny, and they might want to save almost everything they get and hate spending money. And their parents probably don't even have much of the knowledge to teach them how to budget the money.
Yeah. I'm just trying to be the devil's advocate here and like show you the other side
No,
of
no,
the
I
argument
got you.
and things like that, because I think that's important, you know? You can't have a rational discussion and only talk about one side of the argument. That's just not how it works.
If my
Somebody has to know what the other side is about and why they think that, so that you can sit there and have a proper debate about things.
my thought on that is, if schools want to do this kind of thing, which needs to be taught, they need to offer some sort of elective class, because there will be kids who want to learn about that stuff, or
Yeah.
an optional after school class.
I was lucky. I was taught how to cook from an early age. Like I have friends at college, well not at college, but at uni now, and they don't know how to make a meal for cheap. They don't know how to budget. They're just lost, and
If they can't
I
put
don't think
a
that's
pack of ramen noodles onto boil, I'm a little worried.
some of them are that incompetent. Like
Yeah, trust me. I met a lot of my friends actually can't cook to save their life, or don't know how to use a laundry machine, or don't know how to pay bills or save money or anything like that. I've met plenty of people like that, and it's unfortunate that's the way it is. But both sides here need to acknowledge the fault here, right? The school system does need to offer, the
an
education.
elective, and parents need to understand that
The
this
school
is
can't
a
teach them everything.
yeah, and also that like, so what? You're just gonna send this vulnerable person out into a cruel and unforgiving world to just fend for themselves.
No, I have
Right.
thought about it, and as a parent, I am going to feel like I have failed if I do not teach my kids these basics.
Yeah.
I think
But
one
yeah,
of the most
there's that
important things you can teach is how, how to cook, how to wash clothes in an economic and like yeah, just how to live life without spending too much money and how to be a functioning adult. So many people that are in their 20s are now they're acting like it's the education system that failed them, that oh, school should teach this, school should teach that. It's like, no, your parents should have taught you that.
It is more than just even before teaching my kids that, because that's going to be something that's going to come over time. Like, they will learn that stuff, but it's the morals, the values, how to be a decent human being and not be stupid. Like,
Yeah.
because some
how
parents,
to not how to not be a Jake Paul fan.
parents, there's quite a few that I've seen. They don't keep the control of the kids. They just run amok. Like,
Yeah. Oh, and if the kid does anything wrong, it's not the parents' fault. Oh no, it's it's the business's fault. It's like why weren't you watching my kid? And it's like, well, it's not my job to watch your kid. It's your job. You're the
Unless it's a
parent.
daycare, at which point it is important for you to watch my kid. What the hell went down?
the thing is, even though there's full-time mothers, which there's a lot of people who can't afford to have that anymore, they have to have two incomes. But there's full-time mothers that allow that to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of the reason here, at least in Canada and the US, that happens quite a lot is because the governments don't recognize maternity leave as something that's necessary, right? So maternity leave here is 2 or 3 months without pay.
I think in the US it's
Without
about the same, but there is pay.
Yeah,
I
without
think there is
pay.
pay.
There's no assistance. There's no nothing.
I think there is pay in the US.
No.
there's pay in the UK because
No.
it's been lobbied for.
I don't think there's pay in the US. Like,
I'm reading.
yeah, right here. 40% of women don't qualify for Family Medical Leave Act, which grants 12 weeks of protected job leave unpaid at the federal level.
Yeah, I see that.
And it's the same here in Canada. Like, it's absolutely not paid. It's like it's not close to the UK or Germany or anything like that, where it's treated as you take your time to get everything sorted out. Here's some money, figure it out.
I
Right?
willingly
That's
did not.
here. Like, they expect you to have a kid, you get 2 to 3 months to recuperate from that, and then you're back on the job.
I willingly did not take maternity leave. Like, I knew I was gonna get paid better plus my tips if I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I did get very protective. My fight or flight instinct quickly became flight. So my bartending job went from you mess with this place, I'm gonna kick your ass, to you start anything and I'm gonna run. It's that instinct to protect.
But that happens.
Now,
Like,
I've gone back to, because I am completely getting out of bartending altogether, going back to school to get my master's, and it's gone from my kid comes first, and there seems to be some parents that don't understand that. Like, your kid should come before you do.
Yep.
It's really hard to always say that, though. It should be. That's how it should be, but that's not always the case because you don't know people's living situations or what they've had to deal with, or
But if you don't
anything
have
like that. Like,
if you don't have food in the house, your kid should eat before you do. You've got to make sure they're happy and taken care of before you do.
obviously that's the correct choice, but I'm trying to say that's not always how it goes down. Quite often, it's not how it goes down.
like both of you know the kind of circumstances that I had with this situation, and I think I'm hopefully a better parent than most people who had different situations. At least I hope.
Well, that remains to be seen. And whenever your kid grows up, they'll let you know what they think of you. That's the only way to find out.
It's not even necessarily when they grow up. Give them. I'll start getting earful preteen years.
Yeah, just like 14, 15.
That rebelling stage.
Yeah, and then suddenly like 19, 20 will hit, and then they'll look back and go,
I
"Fuck, that was an asshole." Because I know I did. I was like, how was I that person when I was like, 16? How come I was that much of a douchebag? What the fuck?
There will be moments when you think, where did I go so wrong?
Right? I had that exact moment, and I was like, how in the fuck did I end up like that?
See, I didn't
No,
have
I'm talking
that.
parent. I'm talking the parent moment where they just sort of look at everything and go, where did I go so wrong?
Like, I've had that I screwed up moment in the past 4 months. It's like you do one thing and then it suddenly comes to the mind of, oh, did I just screw up?
Yeah.
There's no, people say there is, but there's really no right way to parent.
Well, if there was a right way to do it, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah.
There
It
is.
would have been
It's called
discovered.
Don't
It would have been in a
Traumatize Your
book.
Child.
That person would have been a billionaire, and we'd all know his story. Because it's going to be some dude that writes the best parenting book because it's always a dude.
Four words
some
on
reason.
how to be. 4 words on how to be a good parent. Don't traumatize your child.
Good luck with that. You can traumatize children with anything. Turn around when your bathrobe slips off. Traumatized. Like,
leave your
you can't
parent.
say don't traumatize.
Leave your
Like,
child with their grandparents, and grandma is asleep, and the kid has a bright idea of coming into a naked grandma's room.
right? Like, you can't say don't traumatize a kid because I guarantee you they'll find a way to traumatize themselves. So just can't
I
say
mean,
don't traumatize.
I have a slightly traumatic memory caused by Disney. So
How does Disney
These
World
indicators
traumatize
at all
people?
where Mickey touched you.
no, so Mum. Now this is gonna sound weird to Americans. Mum had reins on me.
Like a leash?
No, jeez. Think more like a harness.
Oh,
But,
like one of those things that looks like a backpack, but it's got a lead off the end, right? And oh,
Yeah,
look, that
yeah.
kid with a cute backpack, but then they're secretly on a leash like a dog.
You know, that's a big thing here.
This one didn't have a backpack though.
Okay, they were just a straight up like harness system. You're not escaping from me, child.
Yeah, so Mum had one of those on me because I was a kid that ran around a lot, and obviously Americans look at that and they're like, "What the hell?" Like, why is that child effectively on a leash? Oh, they'll run. And so here I am at the Country Bear Jamboree when they're all like dancing and everything, and one of the dumb looking one, I guess you could say, decides to grab onto my reins and just start playing with them like I'm a horse. That scared
Oh.
the hell out of me. I was about
I-
6 years old, 6 or 7. That scared
That
the
would do it.
hell out of me.
That would do it in my opinion.
You know, parenting is not easy at all, because you never know if you're doing the right thing or not.
It'll be fine in the end.
You can only hope.
I mean, I turned out fine.
We went way
Mostly.
off topic. Way off topic.
Oh my god, I have the best story relating to parenting, and it's through my mom actually.
Go ahead, tell
So-
it. Go.
When I was younger, I was going through some sort of tantrumy phase. So I think I was probably like 4, 5, let's call it. And my mom was taking me past this church, and apparently I like blew raspberries at them, and like the nuns there went all crazy and started talking to my mom, and they started telling her like, this is why you have such terrible children. It's because you wear jeans and listen to that horrible rock music. And they went on that entire tangent. And my mom apparently just sat there and stared them straight in the face, gave them a middle finger, and we walked away. And it's just like, your child is fucked up because you wore tight jeans during pregnancy. Excuse me? What? How does that? Wait a second.
Your child is messed up because you listen to rock music.
That
Right?
devil
So
music.
apparently, that's how I became trans. Apparently, it's because my mom listened to like Nine Inch Nails and wore tight jeans when she was pregnant. So
I don't. Well, here's what I'm trying to figure out. How did your mum manage to wear tight jeans? Because I normally do, and those were not comfortable for 9 months.
okay, so when my mom was younger, she was a skinny lady. Like, we're talking like 95 pounds wet. And when you get pregnant, when you're that size, you can still find clothes that just fit you, right? You can walk into a store, and even though you're pregnant, you're still within like certain size requirements. So you can kind of just wear whatever. So she found like these kind of tight fitting jeans, and then that's what happened.
See, my problem was I gained. It wasn't much, and then I gained weight like crazy. And as soon as everything was like said and done, I lost all that and more after. So I'm one of the lucky ones. I lost.
Well, my
it
mom
within
was
a
like
month.
extremely fit before she got pregnant, and was still pretty fit after she had me. So
Lily,
like,
how
she
much,
lost
how
all
much
that
do you
baby
weigh?
weight. I don't feel comfortable saying that on the internet.
Type it in chat. I want to know if I can bench you.
Probably. Okay, note, this was the last time I weighed myself, and that was 3 months ago. So I have no idea if this
Mika,
is really
did we have the discussion of you could bench me?
If I could bench you, I doubt I could bench you.
Nah, you can probably bench me. Easy.
If you can bench Lily, you can bench me.
Well, let me do the maths here.
Let's do the math.
Oh yeah, I can bench both of you. I can bench Lily.
Okay, well then
Okay. But
I'm about 15 pounds less than Lily. So.
Oh yeah, I can bench you.
yeah, but see, I'm like 5'11", so like I look skinny even though I weigh that much. So
See, I'm not that much shorter than you are.
yeah, but I also have these weird French genetics that mean I'm just gonna be a skinny beanpole with tits for like the rest of my life.
My problem weight wise is depending on how much time it fluctuates. Now I've never been more than what you weigh. It's that
Okay.
it's that 15-pound range it fluctuates.
Oh yeah, so I fluctuate like at 10 pounds plus or minus what I just put in chat. So yeah, but HRT will do that.
But if I have free time, I have time to train. If I don't, well then I'm gaining weight.
Yeah, you better eat more of those cum rolls. Yeah.
You have officially gotten us demonetized. For those watching that, those are ham and cheese rolls.
Yeah, but they leak a little too much. It looks suspicious to me.
You are a disgusting human being.
And that's why you like me.
You're my friend. I tolerate the things you
It's good
say.
enough.
I tolerate the things you say.
I
Wow.
find it funny that Raven's instincts of fight or flight have changed because she constantly threatens to kick my ass.
Right?
No,
Same here.
No,
like,
hold up. My
your response
instincts of
hasn't
flight or
changed.
flight changed while I was pregnant. That went away afterward. So it's my flight instinct has almost went away because if I'm in a situation where I need to protect myself, I'm gonna do that for my kid. If I'm in a situation with my kid, I'm gonna protect the kid. So it's fight or fight for me right now. So yeah, that threatened to kick your ass is more likely to happen than any other time in my life. Uh, so the wording is "Don't screw with Raven" right now.
Yeah, I don't think I would. I get my ass kicked easy. The only way I'd win in a fight is a rifle from a very very long range.
The flight or
Everyone's on
fight
right now.
instinct, I mean, is very different for me than it is for my friend and my mum. My mum and my friend are both very likely to try to flee before they fight, whereas I fight before I flee.
Yeah. For me, it depends on the situation what I do, but if I do choose to fight here, I have to be very careful because in Canada you have a duty to flee, which means you can only really fight somebody if there's no other choice, and even then you can't do how's it worded? You can't use unreasonable force to defend yourself, and that's the wording on the law. Yeah, it's a little vague.
I mean,
So
if I wasn't trained the way I was, I would be more able to flee. But the UK was touchy on that a little bit. Anymore, if someone comes at me, I can fight them. I'm in America, so
well, yeah, they got things like
self-defense.
castle laws and like
Yeah, if someone tries to do something,
crazy
I'm
firearm
gonna kick some
rules.
ass. Now, I don't own a gun. I've never touched one, but
I think, you know, I'm so on the fence when it comes to guns. Like, I think you should be able to own them for sport or for target shooting, or if you just want to go to like a gun range and just have some fun and rent some guns and stuff like that. I think
here
that's totally fine as long as they're used responsibly, right?
here's my thing. People kill people. Guns don't kill people. Like, the person holding that gun is still a person killing another person. You know,
It's such a loaded subject.
it is. Honestly, if the only thing that really bothers me with people owning guns is those who hunt and then they just do it for the trophies. They leave the meat. Like, if you're gonna
Yeah.
hunt, take the meat, eat it.
Yeah, for sure. But like, I thoroughly enjoy Canada's gun laws, actually, and I think they're fantastic. And if the U.S. were to adopt our gun laws, they would be so much better off. But
Now,
See,
here's the thing: people who
the way I'm viewing gun laws at the moment is it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth,
Okay,
50
okay.
no,
hearts
it's not.
surround my
No.
kids.
the the concept of restraining gun laws, people who want to do crime with them are gonna get them either way. You're
Yeah.
just
That whole
you're
30 to
taking it
50
away.
feral hogs thing is like, yeah, how do you kill
You're
30 to
taking
50 feral hogs in 3 to 5 minutes?
you're taking away the guns from the people who use them to protect themselves because the criminals are gonna get them either way.
Okay, yes, but nobody needs an assault rifle. If you want to use that logic, you can use that logic to say people should have handguns. You
People,
can't use that logic
there
for
are people who
shotguns or
use
assault
those.
rifles.
People
or,
use
you
those
know-
to hunt. People will use assault rifles to hunt.
Which you don't really
Yes.
need to do. A decent bolt action rifle
Well,
is
in
good enough for hunting.
that
Right,
works
but the
for
whole idea of I need an assault rifle to defend myself
that's too
is
far.
not correct.
I-
No, if you're really that worried about security, buy a little Glock. That's good enough, right?
That's
Because
part
when
of
a
it.
shooter happens, you call the police, the people who are properly trained to deal with shooters.
People when someone
that's
comes
That
in,
part of the
in an
reason-
emergency and you need it,
when
that's
you
fine to pull a little handgun
yeah,
to defend yourself.
the
But
problem
That's
with
part of the reason I want to stay on resort at Disney World is I'm very British and I'm going to Florida and that state scares me as much as I like it.
Texas should scare you more.
the problem with People, when they have an intruder, they want to go for a shotgun. It's much more difficult to aim a shotgun when you're half asleep than it is a handgun. Like,
But shotguns have spread. At least with a shotgun, you can go.
yeah, the problem is with that
And you'll hit
spread,
something.
you have a kid that's sleeping in the room next door, and the shotgun goes through the thin wall and shoots a kid.
Yeah.
That is an issue.
You have to remember, when you're shooting, you always have to think about the background. What's behind your target, right? So,
A handgun is a little bit more usable in that theory.
yeah.
Depends on
And
caliber.
if they were to institute like magazine limits like we have up here, right? If you can only buy a 5-round magazine for your assault rifle, that's a lot of reloading to kill a lot of people. And, pistols only have 10 rounds in them, right? What it does is it limits how many people you can shoot or interact with before you have to take a break, before you have to slow down to let other people escape and things like that, right? So the whole argument that, restricting our gun laws makes it so that the good guys can't get guns and the bad guys are always going to get guns is a false argument. It's not good, because enabling the wider spread of firearms means that somebody who never normally would have done something bad that can get a gun legally and then go out and shoot a ton of people is what keeps happening. The most recent shooters, they got guns legally, and then they went out and did their things. It's not like they went through the illegal route to get them. Yes, bad people will always get guns, and that they always will. Get over it. But to say that we need to make it really easy for everybody to have a gun makes it easier for more mass shootings to happen, because somebody can just click and decide that they're going to do it, and they can go to the store legally and nobody is going to stop them.
The
Saying about getting guns legally and illegally, when people say about the whole, oh, but people can just buy guns on the black market, harder than you might think. A guy in Gloucestershire, the county I live in, tried to get a gun, right? And he had plans for everything he was going to do. The New York police, I believe it was, intercepted it, created a fake model, sent that to the guy, and yeah. So the fact that the uh, the a black market purchase was stopped does show that it's harder to get guns illegally than it is to get them legally.
Yes, but you're talking about the UK. You're not talking about the US.
The-
In the
Yeah, but that
US,
was
where
intercepted
anybody
by
can
the
go
US
and get a
police.
gun.
Now, here's the thing about getting a gun in the US. There was a news reporter who tried to show people how easy it was. The background checks are so extensive. Like, they look for medical history, criminal history. This reporter thought he was going to be able to get a gun in about an hour. He was in there for forever. And they would not give him a gun
Yeah.
because he had a DUI charge or something like that.
Okay, so yes, background checks are great, and background checks are awesome, and every state should have them. But if you go over to Texas, where the only thing you need is a pulse and a card that says you're over 18 to get a gun,
Actually, this happened in
Right?
Texas. So this was in Texas.
right? Yeah, but Texas has just recently loosened all of their laws to make it stupendously easy. So, right? So let's say you buy a gun in Texas and you take it into Alabama because it's the only one I can think of right now. There's nothing to really stop you from doing that.
But you still
right?
have to
You go to a state where it's easier,
You have to
where there
register
is
that
no
gun
registration
in that state.
requirements, because there are states that opted out of registration requirements. Go into another state, scrub off the barcode, sell it to the black market, because the guns are widely available. There is always a way. There's always a way to get a gun if you really want it. So the only solution is to stop allowing people to have guns, right? Canada up here, we still have an illegal guns market, and we still have, shootings and stuff like that, but they are not nearly as prevalent. They don't happen as often because we don't allow the wider public to carry firearms. Up here, it's a privilege to have a firearm, not a right. And that's the defining thing that needs to change, right? You need to say that guns kill people, yes, because people kill people, but also the inherent nature of a weapon kills people, right? So what you need to do is you need to change the idea that a good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun, because that's not the case. A bad guy with a gun will always be there, but you can limit how many guns they can get by reducing the availability of firearms, period.
Mm-hmm.
Right? How many shootings happen in the UK? How many schools have been shot up by a guy with a 50-round drum mag in the
None.
UK? Exactly. Do you know how many times it's happened in Canada? Twice.
And a
How many
lot in
times it's
America.
happened in the US?
A lot.
It happens like once a fucking month at least.
Look, there was
right?
just two. Someone shot up a Walmart and someone else shot up something else. I can't. One was
Okay,
in
so
Dayton, Ohio.
the one about the Walmart is actually fake. Nobody actually got shot at that Walmart. What
Okay.
had happened is two dudes got into a fight, and one guy reached for his belt, and the other guy screamed gun and ran off. But no shooting actually happened. So that one didn't do anything, but the one where the guy shot up the club, or tried to, like he opened fire on the street and then he tried to get into a club, and that's where the police
That
put
was probably the one in El
so
Paso.
many rounds into him.
That was probably the one in El Paso.
Yes, that is the one in El Paso. But you know, if you suddenly take away everybody's guns, right? Then how do these crazy people who suddenly flip and say, you know, fuck this shit, I need to kill all of blank people, right? And then they go and get a gun legally with all the magazines and all the ammo, right? If there's no way for them to legally buy a weapon, that means they have to go through the illegal route, which means that there's more likely to be police intervention from the start, because they have to go through an illegal method to get it. You know? So the logic there is, by forcing them to buy illegal guns, they are more likely to get caught or interact with the police, therefore stopping it.
Yeah.
Okay, I had to look and see which shooting was which. I can't remember which one was which.
Yeah, so like on the one hand, I'm fine with guns being used for fun, as long as they have limits on it, right? Like here in Canada, if you want to transport a gun, you got to get a permit, which is a little crazy, but you can only take it to a range or an approved hunting site, and then you have to take it home, right? Do you know how crazy the US would be right now if you told them that that's what the new rules would be? That they were only allowed to use their guns at certified firing ranges? Do you know how they would flip their shit? Like, it's because the US has the idea that everybody should and can own a gun, right? But yeah, I don't know. That's my rant on this nonsense. But that comes from a country with existing and, quite honestly, extreme gun control. So yeah.
And on that note, we need to end this.
Sweet, end on the controversial topic.
Sorry, I'm
We-
looking at news at the moment just to give some levity on things. I just saw this: Asda shoppers threatened by man with hammer as police seek witness to Gloucester incident.
Yeah, right. Like
This
the
was-
UK gets tons of like knife wounds and like attacks like that, and nothing's really gonna stop those kind of
Threatened with
attacks.
hammer.
But you know,
I
you
think
can
this
limit
was.
how many firearm incidents there are.
I think this is the most offensive thing we've ever done.
Hell yeah. They don't like being
I don't
logically
know if we
argued
can
with,
publish
they
this
should get off
episode.
the internet.
If they don't want to watch it, they can click off. Alright.
Exactly. You're more than welcome to not watch it.
This has been Raven, Lily, and
Or you
Mika.
can talk in the comments, and I will argue with you there.
Yeah, go for it. Lily will get on YouTube and kick your butt.
I'll argue with you a little bit.
Alright, this has been Raven, Mika, and Lily. Have a wonderful day, guys. So yeah, bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.